हाँ याडी सर।
हाँ सर।
हम तो छुट्टी पे आज।
अच्छा।
हाँ, आज तो क्या आर्किटेक्चर के हैं लेक्चर शायद मैडम,
हाँ
है ना?
बिल्कुल। और टॉपिक
आप
भी
क्वेश्चन पूछेंगी?
हाँ देखते हैं, वो टॉपिक थोड़ा सा अलग है, देखते हैं ना सर।
हाँ, वो गेमिंग का है, गेमिंग के
गेमिंग का है।
ऊपर है।
हाँ। तो
वो
एक
क्यों
मतलब
नहीं सर?
एक अलग ऑप्शन है, एक डिसिप्लिन में क्या क्या हो सकता है, ये एक
क्या है?
अलग है। अदरवाइज आर्किटेक्चर यानी बिल्डिंग बिल्डिंग ही जनरली सब लोग मानते हैं।
हाँ हाँ, वो अलग एंगल से बताएंगे
तो
उसको।
आर्किटेक्चर का गेमिंग में भी रिलेशन है। अच्छा।
देखते हैं, अच्छा मतलब अच्छा ही होगा।
बिल्कुल।
वो कुछ टाइम इनवेरिएंट और टाइम वेरिएंट की बात भी कर रहा है।
अच्छा।
वो जो दोनों चीजें है ना, उनका मैंने वो निकाला।
हम्म।
थोड़ा सा स्टडी कर लूं जरा और मैं।
ओके।
Hi, ma'am.
Namaskaram, Vinod.
Namaskaram, sir. எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? Very good morning to you.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being there.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, sir. I've just spoken to Dr. Dhar now. We're delighted that you're here and looking forward to your proposal for your session.
Yes.
As soon as possible.
Yes, sir. I will send it out to you today.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
You look much younger now than 2 years ago.
I know, sir. I remember in Munich, you carried my suitcase. I was most embarrassed by that. I think it was just after the meeting was over, and I think you were trying to find a hotel for the evening dinner. I didn't know what to do. That was also my first day in Munich. I just landed. I had not even gone to the hotel. Willie had asked me to come straight to the airport.
Yes.
This was, of course, I think somewhere towards the end of August, I think in 2004.
Right. That was a good conference in Munich.
With, I think, 300, 400 people, at least on record, attending.
They had the Oktoberfest or some local festival going on at the same time.
October was about to happen.
Yeah.
And Dr. Paula is here.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Paula.
Good afternoon, Dr. Paula. Good afternoon, Vinodji.
Hi, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Hi, Dr. Rajawat.
Yes. Sir, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Fine, thank you.
Dr. Paula, would you like to test the
Yes, right.
PowerPoint
If possible, yes.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, I will share my screen.
And Dr. Paula, you must have seen Tyagi is here.
And I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
So you can see, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So can I also check if I can show a small video?
You can test it out.
Yeah. Sorry.
How long is the movie?
Sorry, but I can't. Something went wrong. Okay. I will share screen again. I don't know why, but I'm seeing. Oh, okay.
So now you play the video, so we can.
So it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds. We can see that. If you want to test it out.
There is something wrong. Sorry. There is something wrong with my. I think there is something wrong with the. Could you see the video?
So you need to share your screen first.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sure. Now you can see.
Yes.
Because it seems that my video has another resolution right now, but maybe.
That's it. If I click on that, maybe it works.
So can.
Yes, yes.
Well, we can see that. You also have to click on the right side so that we can see the full picture. On the right side.
Yes.
Where it says next to YouTube itself, so that we can see the entire page. No, not at the top, at the bottom.
I will. Sorry, which one?
When you show us the slide.
Yeah.
On the right-hand side bottom, you can see the words YouTube. After that, there is a square box. If you can click on that, probably we can see the full screen.
View stream on YouTube. This one?
I can't see you as yet. I cannot see
my screen. Okay.
At this time.
So is here?
Not this one, the YouTube screen.
I don't know how to reach it.
You had just shown us the YouTube screen.
Doesn't matter. If I can just share the it's not a problem.
Sure.
Eventually, what I can do is ask to you if it's all right for you. I can send to you the let's say the link, and at the end of my presentation, you can just run by your screen the video. Is it okay?
Yes, yes. You share your link. Okay.
Okay. So I will do this. Can I send it to you by chat?
Oh, that's fine.
I will send to all the panelists, okay? So you can just copy there.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm just asking. I see Dr. Tiaga Raji. Oh, that's great.
Hello, how are you, Paolo?
Oh,
Nice
how
to
are
see
you?
you.
Nice to meet
Eh,
you again. After
I will not,
Munich, after, but I mean, you know, we met several
yes,
times. That's great to
I will
see you.
not miss your session. So I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to make sure I can get to see you.
What is the time now? 4 o'clock.
Yes. Time now is 4:28.
4:28 a.m. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're
Sorry we
very
disturbed your
welcome.
sleep.
So when you will tell me, I will share my video and I will start. And I'm sorry that I didn't say good afternoon to everybody there, because I see there are some people listening and waiting. So thank you so much. I'm quite
Thank you, Paula.
embarrassed because I don't know if
Thank you, Paula.
I will be. Okay, so
Afternoon.
okay, when you're ready, just let me know.
Yeah.
I will mute my microphone, or is better?
Give us a couple of minutes, Dr.
Okay.
Rajavat.
Yes, sir. Vice Chancellor is joined within a minute. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Good afternoon, Indian time.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Dar,
Welcome to our guest speaker, Madam Paula.
Nice to meet you again.
Yeah. We had a very brief meeting last year.
Dr. Dar, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Sivasailam Tyagarajan, who is also known as Tyagi.
Oh, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
about
much.
him several times.
Yeah. You have been mentioning about him. Great that we are meeting today.
He is a giant in the field of simulations and games for the last 50 years.
Oh,
He is based in the US.
He's an icon for gaming simulation. He's the sort of icon for us.
oh. So
Really?
I would request Tyagi ji to be the keynote speaker for our ISAGA 2021. So please consider it as an open
Thank
invitation.
you. I will definitely do that. And
Thank
everything
you. So
I
nice
know
of you.
about simulation and gaming, I learned from Vinod.
All of us will learn from you.
Yes.
Tyagi's paths and my paths have crossed over the years. We have met at the conferences. We have met at, I think, at least one summer school. I also found his playing cards once at Mumbai airport just after it left. And I think it was an omen. It was a good omen.
Yeah.
And we met again at Gurgaon as well, perhaps twice after that. But it'll be.
You are meeting for the first time on virtual platform.
Yeah, I hope he's here in India physically next year.
Yeah.
It will be a great thing for Indore, for India, for simulations and games, and for India to understand that we have a huge person, an expert like him here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will be delighted. My wife wants to go see Indore.
Okay.
Yes, many other places, but she loves to visit Indore.
Yes,
I will send you formal invitation, but I take it granted
you
that
very
you are
much.
accepted by humble invitation.
Thank you, doctor. It will be an honor.
Yeah, thank you. Rupali, we can start the webinar now.
Dr. Rupali?
Yeah, Rupali.
Rupali ma'am?
I think she has lost connection.
Yeah. Anand, you can start.
Yes. Good afternoon to
Am I
all of
audible,
you.
sir?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes. ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to all the eminent speakers over here and dear students in the webinar on the topic Between Utopia and Ucronia, Gaming Simulation as a Construction of the Future. Resource person and speaker of the webinar is Dr. Paola Rizzi, Department of Architecture, Design and Urban Planning, University of Sassari, Italy. I once again welcome you all. To give you more details about the webinar, I would like to invite Director of Shri Vaishnav Institute of Information Technology at Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Anand Rajawat, for the details.
Thank you, Rupali. Today's speaker, Dr. Paola Rizzi, Department of Architecture, Design and Urban Planning, University of Sassari, Italy. Dr. Upendra Dhar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, India. Respected Dr. Vinod Dumlekarji, Gaming and Simulation Expert and Founder, Mentees. Dr. Thai Rajan, respected Dr. Santosh Dhar, Dean Faculty of Doctor Study and Research, SVV. My colleague Rupali Bharti, all the ISAGA members, head of the institute, head of the departments, faculty members, research scholars, and my dear young friends. It gives me immense pleasure to extend very warm greeting to all of you on behalf of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, India, in this webinar. Friends, International Simulation and Gaming Association, ISAGA, is a professional association for students, teachers, trainers, researchers, practitioners, and other professionals. Its aim is to promote gaming simulation methods, including research, consulting, learning, and teaching methods such as traditional business and management simulation, games, policy, exercise, computer simulation, and computer supported simulation games, role play, learning games, scenarios, dynamic case studies, experimental learning activities, business threads, etc. ISAGA 2021, the 52nd Annual International Conference of ISAGA, will be organized by Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya at its campus in Indore, India, between 6th to 10th September 2021. The theme of the conference is Gaming Simulation and Innovations, Challenges and Opportunities. The event is the first ISAGA International Conference in India. To prepare for the conference, the university is organizing a webinar series on gaming and simulation with emphasis on conference theme. Our key speakers are ISAGA members and other gaming simulation professionals. Till now, 5 webinars have been conducted. Friends, today is the 6th webinar of this series, and the resource person is Dr. Paola Rizzi, Department of Architecture, Design and Urban Planning, University of Sassari, Italy. Topic of webinar is Between Utopia and Ucronia, Gaming Simulation as a Construction of the Future. The contribution is intended to confront the evaluation of the topic of gaming simulation design as a learning technique for the design practices and the construction of future scenarios in the field of territory and urban planning in particular. I am delighted to welcome Dr. Paola Rizzi. We are grateful to you for providing your time for the 6th webinar of this special webinar series. I also welcome all the ISAGA member, GS expert, faculty members, research scholars, and students. We truly value your participation and support for this webinar. I am sure this will be a very exciting and knowledgeable journey for all of you. Thank you. Thank you for attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite Conference Chairperson ISAGA 2021 and Vice Chancellor of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya Indore, Dr. Upinder Dhar, for the welcome address.
Dr. Tyagaraja, Dr. Paola, all members of ISAGA, even non-members of ISAGA, and all the attendees of this webinar. At the outset, I would like to welcome both Dr. Tyagaraja and Dr. Paola, who is the key speaker for this webinar today.
Okay, don't take him in your room anymore.
COVID-19 disrupted all the plans. We could not hold it this year because of COVID-19, because of this pandemic. But I'm thankful to the executive board of ISAGA for accepting our request to organize ISAGA 2021 in India. Now, as a prelude to 2021 ISAGA, we started this series of webinars addressed by eminent persons who are in this gaming and simulation. Number of, as mentioned by Anand Rajawat, number of webinars have already been organized, and response was very encouraging. It has always exceeded 500, 600 attendees. And today also, I'm sure that it's going to be a great experience. Dr. Paola Rizzi is a well-known person, well-known name in gaming and simulation. She's an architect by training and has been in gaming, particularly in the town planning, urban town planning. The session will be very interesting and a great experience for us to learn. Every time whenever we have attended such webinars, we have learned a great deal. We have learned to even innovate the games which we have designed earlier. So this time also, I am very much confident that with Paula with us, we'll be ending up with great experience. So with these words, once again, a warm welcome to both Dr. Tyagaraja, who is considered an icon in gaming and simulation, and also to the main key speaker for this webinar, today's webinar, Dr. Paula Rizzi. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Paula Rizzi. She is urban planner and designer. Her realm are urban gaming simulation in participatory design and planning and disaster mitigation. She is professor of techniques of urban and regional planning at University of Sassari, Italy. She is visiting professor in universities in Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, and Europe. She is member of different board of scientific committees as advisory board of directors of computers in urban planning and urban management, founder and former director of ISAGA summer schools from 2004 to 2013. She is honorary member of ISAGA and SAG-SAGA. She designed urban gaming simulation as VADDI for Italian Ministry of Environment, and many of her UGS were used in urban planning. I once again welcome to Dr. Paula Rizzi in the webinar and request her to please start the session.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer to give me the chance to bring you a really humble, let's say, probably simple for such among a lot of other contributions, but something that is really for me important on the field of gaming simulation, that is urban gaming simulation. So if you do not mind, I will start immediately sharing my screen. And let's say, start with talking about, sorry. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You can see, because I see also you. So I hope that you see the wider screen. Is it right?
Yes.
Okay, great. What I would like to underline here and to talk about is, this is a, let's say, probably it looks for an urban planner, a sort of a strange title, because what does it mean, Utopia and Ucronia, that is without place and without time? So, and what has to do with the future? I will try to explain myself. First of all, talking about what is the meaning of playing, because when you play, you enter in a world where, you know, you interpret, and the rules are pre-established. But once you are in that world, you can maybe redefine that rules, redefine the scenario. So in a sort of way, what I call gaming simulation machines, which generate utopias, because they allow you to construct worlds. Even if that worlds are based into models and the models simulate reality, they detach from reality as much as the construction that we know from Sun, the city of the sun by Platon or Moro or Thomas More or Bacon. Nova Atlantic, that is the picture that you can see here. So in a sense, for me as a planner, Utopia has not to be understood as or in relation with geographical coordinates, but in relation to the nature of its virtual reality. I give you a really quick example just since the beginning. This is a game that was designed, gaming simulation that was designed in 1987. That was the conference in Venice of ISAGA. And I developed with other colleagues in 1998. And New Wave is a game that is regarding Venice, but is an utopia because, of course, Venice is a real city, but the gaming simulation is has the capacity to construct an ideal city of Venice, which doesn't not exist and probably will never exist, but that it constitutes some base for discussing and reconstruction on possible futures of a possible or desirable Venice. And this is, of course, we can have a structure, a model that is based on real systems. So we have, you know, in a New Wave, we have events, we have budget, we have election to care, we have even consensus to play. We have roles like the traditional one, the administration, the mayor, some stakeholders, etc. And we play in a physical, real Venice with physical, real places through a software. And there are some unexpected events. Here is one of the sessions with some colleagues from Germany. And here some of you can recognize a famous Austrian architect, Mrs. Kritz, that is also showing some result of the game. So the game itself is true that is based on the real model, but what it generates is a Venice that, again, doesn't exist. After 20 years, I have to say that, unfortunately, we built a scenario that existed. So we have to just as a previous statement before to go to the gaming, the urban gaming, is that the primary objective of gaming simulation is not exactly to simulate a real world, but is to obtain relevant information by creating a simulated world where the participant can enter. So the main purpose is to imitate the real world, is not to imitate, sorry, the real world, is not to have a replica, but it could be something, and we had a lot of example for eminent members of ISAGA since decades about metaphorical games that, or creation of words that are completely fictitious. But again, there is a reference of and the purpose, because in the gaming, urban gaming simulation especially, the goal is to define, solve, or design a situation that has potentiality, and complying with this potentiality, we want to build to create possible future evolution. So this is the definition of utopia that I'm using, because it's a complex design, and you see here, this is one of the results of the first summer school in Munich in 2004 of the team that I was leading, that was composed, by the way, by game designers. And you can see how it appears and is difficult to identify among different visions, models, actions, interactions, going ahead and coming back, and so forth. So the definition of this utopia is a complex design, is analyzed, is decomposed, recomposed, but is recomposed according with the process. And this process the main goal of this process is comparison. So it's true, of course, that when you design a game and simulation, you design a utopia, but you have to understand, you have to have a deeper understanding of the elements of the system that you want to design, and also the perception, the empathy that you can bring on in your design is important. So you are not, what I normally avoid to do is to design models, because mainly they are mathematical construction, and I found of mathematical construction, but there is something that it must be added, that is the perspective, that is the views, that brings simulation in it. And then the game is something more, because you have a players. And this is a sort of ecology of games that is created. For instance, this is a model that I often use, where gaming simulation is a part of methodology, is a part of different, let's say, basket of tools that we can use. Among the basket of the tools that we can use in gaming simulation and design, I want to clarify that there are two tools that could be, but not necessarily have to be identified as gaming simulation, and that are what Taylor and Walford excellently describe as role play and case study. Role play often, let me say, just spend a minute on it. Often I'm defined as she designs role play games or role play games for urban planning. It's not like that. Urban planning has embedded the role play in its game, in its structure. So, but what is important is that when we talk about role play, we have three important characteristics to remember, to keep in mind. That is information and personal expectation on society by the player, that is observe yourself, interpersonal relations and ways of living, watch the other people's behaviors and actions, and relations with data and knowledge of daily situation, watch the world in general and social life in particular. The second, let's say, type of tool that is often, oh, you are working with case studies, or you are playing with the case studies. Yes and no. They are again embedded on the, let's say, on the nature of gaming simulation itself. But still, we have to remember these three characteristics of the case studies, that they allows the identification with specific persons or defined roles. They set in motion emotions and dynamics proper of an evolutionary dynamic, and they separate the description from theorization and generalization. So you can, if you with role play, you go in a more generic way. With case study, you go deeper in the situation. So what is the aim when you design a game and simulation? Especially, again, sorry, I forgot to say to you that I'm always, in my mind, there is urban gaming simulation, is the creation through interaction among what you can call participants, players, a sort of, let's say, outcomes that are possible futures. I usually use this diagram to explain in a linear way, but this we are going to the terms of Ucronia, that is the way how we show times on a timeline, but usually is not going on this way. Is, you know, there is cycling and cycling and cycling again, is what clubbers, young clubbers call design is small, design in large. But anyhow, usually we start from a sort of Delphi among experts, and they sort some, and they bring some events, and then what is in urban planning happen is that we stop here and we give the plans to the administration, to the people, to the citizen, etc. In the gaming simulation we are going to play it with different targets. We generate scenarios, and this is what is important. Those scenarios have to go back, and this is the cycle completed, and therefore what we are going to generate are possible futures, not let's say one future. So basically GL helps the designers and the participants analyzing, confronting more or less problematic situation, but at the same times it allowed you to keep the complexity of the situation, the problematic of the situation, and also the complexity of the outcomes. In a word, they give you a possibility to co-explore, to co-plan, to participate to the solutions and definitions. So another important point is that to keep in mind that a lot of us talk about gaming simulation as a language. Dick Duke used multilog. When I was with it was a big loss last year. We passed away the author of CLOG, and he was always talking to me that for him as an urban planner, gaming simulation is a common language, is a meta language. And this is what clubbers use in his exercise, and using the gaming simulation as a construction of a common tool to construct a common language before to face or solve problems. And this avoids misunderstanding, and it promotes also alternative vision of reality. So there are different steps and different ways how we can use the gaming simulation. Talking about gaming simulation, urban gaming simulation definition, this is a famous one by Dick Duke that I don't want to underline, because I'm sure that a lot of people and my colleagues will bring this definition. But what is important for me is that to the situation room, that is the metaphor that Duke is using for a gaming simulation, will have, he said, in addition, we'll have a series of scenarios depicting possible courses of actions. Various decision makers will be represented by humans acting out significant roles by acting out what if situation. Alternative futures can be explored. I try to, along years, I try to find a really more synthetic definition of gaming simulation. And for me, gaming simulation is the simulation of the facts of decision made through a role-playing subject to rules, but it means that is a more or less balanced mixture of role, simulation, and games, where simulation is the model's manipulation that is static. The model is static, that is transformed in dynamic by the manipulation. There is a game that is a set of rules that means less than a real game and to play. Game is more rigid. And there is a role that is the part of a function playing in dynamic situation subjected to rules. That means role-playing turns a game in a played game. So you understand why people think that I'm designing gaming simulation. I think that gaming simulation is important, is really important, because according with what I previously said, the capability to bring new visions, new futures, to build up a sort of ground of common shared language, to make you enter in a virtual world where you can feel and experience different, let's say, different values even. or different roles or different facts that you cannot experience in the real world. This is really important in participatory planning. Why? Because as an urban planner, what is the most important problem that I have to face is the problem of communication. We use a glossary, we use a syntax, we use language that is difficult to be completely understood by our users, by our targets, by the people that even ask to us to do something. So the creation of what I call sort of utopia doesn't let's say doesn't have effect on this, because they are so abstract that the people on one side they're too abstract, and on the other side there is the expert language. So there is a crash in between. The people that is in the between crash without understand what we are talking about. And we need to exchange information. We need to communicate, and we have to overcome this. This is a situation where normally this is a modeling that I'm using for, I'm working in disaster mitigation and risk. So this is the way how I model, I model the situation in vulnerable cities, what I have to take into account, what I have to consider, and why, at which point, at which time, etc. And I have to do this running, let's say, not ahead, but behind the transformation of urban systems. So this is why I try to increase as much as possible in this process, to increase the bottom-up approach instead of the top-down. I'm not saying the top-down is not needed, but to increase the bottom-up approach and to improve, because it improves a sort of responsibility or co-responsibility in what I call governanza and not governance. Governance is an English word. Governanza is Italian word, is Latin. It gives more wider, let's say, has a more wider meaning of welcome different actors. And also I refer to base design. This is, these are two small sketches by Rodi Bor and Odessia Korsandian, sorry. They are graphic designer. Rudi Bor is one of the, my opinion, one of the most eminent designer, graphic designer, not only in Europe, but in world. And those are a work that they have done during the COVID lockdown here in Europe and in other countries. And the result is not a simple, graphic vignette. Is something more, is something they ask themselves, what could be the future of the world? And they are talking about ecology and so on. So this is the way how we look also on the use of gaming simulation in the field of urban planning, because people is there, and we have to take into account that people is there. So when I design a gaming simulation, you can design as a case study, model of the world, model of the system, and you can design a gaming simulation in contingency to solve, to enhance, to embed, etc. But I'm really fond of trees, and I think that in the metaphor of trees. And when I told to design, I'm teaching gaming simulation design, I will always use the metaphor of the trees. You have assumptions and you construct scenarios, and to do this, you must have some point of reference. And then you have roles and models and rules, and they can be playing together or not. And then you have the accounting system, and then you have the summation of play. And this is where you can bring means in the future. So like quickly, when we use gaming simulation in urban planning or in urban design, we use to stimulate involvement, to simulate communication, participation, information and training. But we use also, and this is the lower part of this figure, is in research, because this is quite understandable because it's related with all the participation that regards or concerns information, communication, feedbacks, expected results are, you know, to be part in a way that I'm consultant and they give some ideas, etc. But it can be and must be used also in research. For instance, to find possible frequencies of the component of the social behavior in the context of multi-layer different systems, that is the city in a word. But also we can use to planning the plan, because that help us to design and to develop strategies that could be an input for the master plan. And last but not least, it's really important to evaluate our plans, because we can verify through gaming simulation possible changes, possible application and development of the master. To explain a bit more from theory to practice, I would like to give you some example of what I'm doing, because Dr. Vinod Dumblikar asked me especially to give you idea what I'm doing. I'm working in disaster mitigation, reconstruction, preparedness, etc. And I'm using gaming simulation also in such cases, of course, in different moments of the so-called risk life cycle. And you know, Italy is country that unfortunately, like Japan, like Indonesia, is affected and is prone to the risk of earthquake, among many others. Last days we had big problems with flooding and heavy rain. And this is a case study of Novi di Modena. In 2012, Emilia was hit by a big earthquake. And it was, you know, it was really a disaster, because that part of Emilia is the one that is produce 1.2 of GDP of the national one. So it's a really small part of the territory, but is really highly productive in terms of economy. Novi di Modena has a population of a bit more than 11,000 of inhabitants, not to compare with of course, with the city in India. It was characterized by medieval architecture. And of course, it has, due to the fact that it's in an area that economically is flourishing, it has also a demographic growth. Here you see one of the symbols of the city. That was immediately after the first shakes, then it was completely destroyed. So I'm going quickly to give you some only idea where is we are in Italy, and this is the region of Emilia-Romagna. This is the province of Modena, and Novi is there. We analyze how the public space was growing, and this is the red zone after the earthquake that was destroyed, and how quickly they try to have access, clearing the debris to the center. What is important is that we found that there is a loss of identity and a source of losing their orientation because they were displaced. But even it was not connected with it. It was connected with the fact that people cannot have access to the earth of the city. They have the lack of possibility to to go to the place where they went before, especially as I said, the square first of March. For this reason, they talk spontaneously. They want spontaneously to have their own space, their own public space. So we start. I'm just. These are the numbers. I'm sorry, they are in Italian, but these are the numbers of people that was involved among the targets on the reconstruction, the process, of the participation and the process of reconstruction. So the main aim of the region was to reconstruct, to rebuild as quick as possible. But we found that we have to give identity back to these people. So contemporary by law, the two processes started. One, the process of reconstruction, and on the other part, the process of participatory planning. These went not all in parallel, they were touching to share information, to have feedback from each other, but the main point was to regenerate, revitalize, reconquer the public space. And the main slogan was, again, sorry for this, was we start again from squares, from what are identified as a public space. So we try to understand how they use the public space, what were the main functions, and what could be the let's say the use of that space. I'm going just quickly. This is the main square, and that probably surprise you. The main square is not a square, a real square, I mean big square, is a sort of path along the historical center. So fatti il centro tuo in Italian is make your own center. And the reconstruction plan was, let's say, really effective, even if there are still people that is, low income, that they cannot get still their own houses, but is under work and is almost completed. What I'm focused here is that at a certain point we were asked with Monia Guarino, that is from the Association Principi Attivi, she's a young researcher working with me, an architect, to reconstruct the the playground of the elementary school. The school was completely destroyed. What was standing was only a tree. This is the meaning of the logo of the park now. And this is just the description. We started in 2014. We had 40 hours of gaming simulation, design workshops. The students were from 8 to 9 years in 6 classes. And we have meeting with parents and teachers, and we have public hearing. Why I'm underlining this? Because it was not an exercise with students at school where they gave us ideas how to design a better park. It was participation, it was co-design. We also tried to understand how they used before and after the earthquake, the public space, and we found that of course they used the piazza, their own homes, but after that they used a sort of not really convenient green areas. They use the space between the buildings. They use the residual space, in a word, and they use especially the parking areas that are really they're really bad. So we use one of my games that is under the slogan "A bit of magic is needed." We use the City of Emotion to start this process. The City of Emotion is a gaming simulation that has an idea. It brings an idea that places and spaces can generate emotions or associated with emotion, and they might vary from individual to individual between different groups. So this is for instance, friendship neighborhood. But this is just an example. They have to give the names to the street, the names to the object that they want to do, etc. I'm not going to explain what it is because it shifted from City of Emotion, the Park of Emotions, the project, and we use it in 3 phases. One phase was to identify feeling emotion, to compose different corners that were individual contribution, to discuss and evaluate the final scenario. In the first phase, what are here, these are the emotions: boredom, sadness, anger, fear, terror, joy, surprise, and let's say a bit of mystery, and freedom. What surprised us was that they identify the boredom as a right. They say that they must have a place where they can just lie doing nothing, boring themselves. It was surprise. So the process when they draw a map, and that was the second phase where they have to compose in which form, because so there are 3 different hypotheses. One was to shape as a star distributed along a path and merge together. And the discussion was to select the most suitable, and they also model the park. And let's say what is important to underline is that always they follow emotions or value, but they try to match the value in the discussion with the adults, the teenager, the parents, etc., as fundamental for all the community life. They give a name in park. The park was there was organized an urban picnic. This is the same square that was another corner of the same square that you have seen at the beginning of this case study where the tower was destroyed. The name chosen from everybody was Parco Baleno. Parco Baleno is an acronym of combining the word park, Parco, and rainbow, Arcobaleno. So this is the rainbow park. As I said, there was really deep participation from everybody. I mean, the children asked to watch the works, how they were going. They participated to the parties for the opening. They designed some, some features, some urban facilities and features. And now the park is even used as open space for the school in the COVID time. Of course, not now, that is winter, but in September it was used for this. One of the most important elements that I told to you is about the tree, the house on the tree, because the tree for them was really important. So what was the aim of the project? It was to overcome the social trauma that was generated by earthquake, reactivated places, giving to and creating new references point for the community life. The park is open to everybody almost all the time, and to enhance creative competences of children, accommodating in the park design the original context without manipulation. I have to say you that the designers were really, the landscape designers were really nice, because they came the first time with their own design, and the children say no, throw away all these things, it's full of things, we do not use it, this is not, we do not like. And they accept the children's suggestions. What was the challenge? The challenge is that you have to accompany for a long time. And this is why I'm always critic when we say that, gaming simulation is snap and it's over. Is not. Gaming simulation helps you also to keep the attention without losing or dimming the enthusiasm. And that was fully grow in this case during the participation. The strengths were that we had some guidelines shared and decided by the entire community, originality and feasibility, and attention and care of future user with different needs and abilities. That's really important. And the innovation and sustainability, this part was awarded in 2016 by a green prize. So the City of Emotion has proven to be a powerful tool for initiating and emphasizing participation in real life urban planning processes. And in my case, it not only in this one, but in other cases, to heal also social trauma after disaster. So we include, there are two important things that we achieved. We increased the collaboration, cooperation of citizens, including the youngest, that are the kids, but also the teenager, because the teenager are using the park. There's a category, a target that we always forget. And also the guidelines are applicable to everywhere. I'm going to conclude. I designed different gaming simulation. This is quite important. It was designed in 2007 for the Junior Conference on Climate Change. Is the SVADI, that is a game, a word game that is impossible to understand probably for you, because is an acronym of Vallo a dire ai dinosauri, that is, let's tell to the dinosaurs, but Vadi is always an expression to say go, but you know, go ahead in this way. And it was designed, the results were presented to the former minister and the former prime minister, Mr. Prodi, and the former minister of environment in this unfortunately, I said that it was 2007. What is important is that it's still in use. Those are some pictures of the gaming simulation played right now in a different, I just find by chance, looking on internet, that is still used in several regions. And is also, what I like, is modified according with the needs of the classes or the needs of the participants. I also work and use an app, and this was one of the to design gaming simulation for app. This is one Help Me project. That was a gaming simulation on risk preparedness. If you want, I will give you the link, because you can download, and I think it's in English, I'm not sure, but it must be. In English, you can download on your app, and you can follow how to prepare for risk. So we can design future, of course, but we have to keep in mind that we are designers, game designers, urban planner, but we are also facilitators. And a facilitator, as is pointed out by Tilly Sellers here, should show respect, establish rapport, abandon preconceptions, hand over the stick, watch, listen, learn from mistakes, be self-critical, self-aware, be flexible, support and share, and be honest. So that's one of our more difficult things and tasks. And also with this, I don't know if I have time. Is someone tell me, because I was not thinking about the time.
Yes, ma'am.
But if I can do,
take
sorry?
your own time. Take your own time, ma'am.
Okay. Can I have just
Yes,
2 minutes
sure.
before the video?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Okay. So if you allowed me, I want to read to you something. 1 month ago, we had Young Researchers Roundtables conference, international conference, where the young researchers that I organized since 7 years ago, and one of all the young researchers before the conference set a list of questions for the experts, for the senior. And this one was given to Professor Jan Klampers. And this was how could the participatory cross-disciplinary approach drive disaster management? And it was regarding COVID-19, of course. And he wrote, scientific decision-making, especially in combination with optimization, presupposes a fixed and well-defined decision space and a clear-cut problem definition. It represents a conventional analytical science approach. The radical uncertainties of the COVID-19 pandemic and the related wicked governance problems go beyond narrowly scientific decision-making in the traditional sense of the word. Participative, interactive decision-making is necessary, however, insufficient condition for coping with the radical uncertainties related to the COVID-19 pandemic. It can only be effective if it combines a diversity of ideas converging into workable plans of actions. It is based on solidarity among the stakeholders, all serving the common good and interest. Participative interactive decision-making is a form of collective problem framing, a process in which the stakeholders interactively name the facts they will address, share the appreciation of those facts, and frame the context of use. Participative interactive decision-making regarding the COVID-19 pandemic is dynamic in nature. It is interconnected with risk and opportunities in the areas, such as climate change, political instability in pluralistic societies. Each strategic commitment by key stakeholders triggers actions which render the original problem framing rapidly obsolete. That commitment is evolving, unfolding over time. The design the small, designing the large, loop offers an adequate framework for ongoing participative interactive decision making, and this is where the gaming simulation has its role. Also with these 3 points from the 21 points of the physicist written by Friedrich Dürrenmatt, that is the content of physics concern of physicists. It affects concern everyone. What affects everyone can only be solved by everyone. Every attempt by an individual to solve on his own what concerns everyone is doomed to failure. So gaming simulation teach to you how to solve not only by your own, but to solve and to think and to vision and to look to the possible futures together. Thank you for your attention. If it's possible, I would like to launch the video. If not, it's okay. I'm ready for the question and answer.
And please
Rupali,
share your video.
Play the video.
And please share the video.
Can you share the video? Yes. Can you share or I have to share?
Ma'am, you may share.
I will. So sorry, I have to. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I will try because before it didn't work. So I will try to. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I will just. Okay.
liberatorio, la fantasia è arrivata all'ennesima potenza e direi che è stata una bellissima esperienza.
Erano molto contenti di questa casa sull'albero, degli animali, che ci potevano essere anche degli animali.
Degli alberi, giusto, per fare il parco.
Che hanno progettato questo parco interattivo.
No, anche la mia bimba tutti i giorni raccontava qualcosa, ci ha fatto vedere anche il progetto, ci ha fatto vedere anche la scritta con il nome da scegliere.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
for sharing the video. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing the wonderful information with us. It was really a wonderful session for all of us. I request panel members and participants to ask queries related to the session, and you may write your questions in question and answer tab also.
Thank you, Rupali madam. Thanks, Dr. Paula, for sharing a very this lecture. Actually, you have differentiated as well as integrated the concept of role play and this case study, and finally the gaming and simulation. Just would like to know your view on what proportion of entertainment or emotion should be incorporated when we design a simulation game to learn to transform the concept into reality or for the real application.
Big question. Thank you. That's a really important question. Usually, when I design, this is why I prefer to design in team, not by myself. First, because the partiality of my own view, or my own perspective, can mislead me. You know, it's like being a teacher, and you see someone that is, you know, really kind, but is, you know, doesn't offer much the result, and you say, but you are affected by this, you know. So sharing with others and even be criticized by this is why we have to be self-aware, that we are first of all treating with weak problems, that is, you know, difficult to model, difficult to identify precisely, rigidly, with well-defined rules. And the second is that talking about space, this is why City of Emotions. In my opinion, talking about space is important because it brings emotions. But there are different emotions. The emotion that they can have as an urban planner and the emotion that as a citizen that live there for or his life or her life is completely different. So in the design, I'm working in a team with these people. I don't know if I answered to your question, because one thing also that I always avoid, that I criticize to some of my colleagues, is that they use the gaming simulation forcing emotions, and that you know, it destroy the game first. I mean, destroy the design, and also sometimes it brings radical conflicts, and it's difficult to solve such kind of conflicts. Personally, in this is, you know, we have here Dr. Tyagaraji, that is much more expert than me in such kind of, let's say, field of gaming simulation. Because I really, what I have to obtain in my work is to have a plan. To work with the kids, what I have to obtain, it was real data, real input for the designers, and that it brings, you have to keep the motion. That's it. But there's a difficult, I'm sorry, because I know that I'm not, let's say, it's not a wonderful answer. It's ambiguous, but it's because it's ambiguous. So in a word, if I can work with the psychologist close to me, I prefer normally, especially, or with a pedagogist. I always work with the pedagogist when I'm working with kids, not by myself. I'm not such kind of experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ritchie. If I can follow up, by the way, I think the most positive emotions people get when they are able to finish the task given to them. And I'm sure all your players feel proud of what they were able to achieve. So I don't think we need to focus on how can I entertain them as long as they get something done. So that's a brilliant thing. And I like your approach of using a team. It has a lot of advantages, obviously, but can you think back on your experience and tell us what could be some difficulties, some problems when you're working with a team instead of working alone by yourself?
Let's say, is you are God, when you design by yourself, you are God. And this is the dark side, in my opinion, of planners and architects, and then the designers in general. So, of course, you have experience, you have knowledge, you bring all these things, then you bring your project to someone and they do not understand what you are talking about. That's it. Working in team have two big opportunities for me to learn from someone, to see through some other eyes, to see also my work through some other eyes. Yes, of course, I cannot say that I'm always happy about it. You don't like to be criticized sometimes, pushing, not you're wrong, but I try to allow myself, this is what, if I can tell you something, I don't play because I want to win. I play because I like to play. And in gaming simulation, urban gaming simulation at least, it's really important to understand this. I'm playing because I like to be part of it. I enjoy, even I accept to lose something. That's it. That's it, working in team. You have to accept to lose something, to live alone, and to welcome other. But that's my approach.
Thank you. That was exactly on the target and good advice for people who think they are gods because they are designing a game.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, we have few more questions from the audience. May I read for you?
Yes.
One of the question is from Professor Sudhanshu Dubey from Shri Vaishnav Vidyapiti Vishwavidyalaya. He says that you have very nicely explained about disaster mitigation, reconstruction by very active participation of not only seniors and by teenagers also, but how to go for preparedness for disaster mitigation.
For the, sorry, partner.
How to go for preparedness for disaster mitigation.
The partners?
Preparedness.
Preparedness. Okay. This is the point that I'm really concerning about disaster mitigation, the disaster preparedness. So let's say the gaming simulation for disaster preparedness is perfect. We have to divide into two things. One is the virtual world and the other is the real one. So in the virtual world, the gaming simulation is perfect. If we have to experience and to prepare for disaster in a real situation, it will require a bit more of what are called drills and exercise, physical exercise. I mean, watching physically what could happen. Because in the preparedness, when you are, especially with kids and teenagers, but also with adults, when they are in the gaming simulation, they realize at a certain point that they're in the virtual world. So what they are doing is not they are dying or they are, they are affected, but in the real drill, if they see the smokes, if they see the I don't know, something, they are more aware. So the two aspects must be combined. I don't know if I answered to your question properly, if it's satisfied.
Okay. Ma'am, one more question is from a student from computer science, Siddharth Srivastav, from the university. His question is, are role play and case study two simultaneous processes or depend on one another? And what gives better result, role play after case study or case study after role play?
Good question. They're interdependent, but I will select which one is more important according with my goal. I mean, with the context where I am, what I have to do. Talking on my students, for instance, in urban planning, it's better to start from case studies and have, from that an independence with role play. If I'm talking about, for instance, COVID-19, and I'm starting some experiments in this, I would say is role play before and then case studies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting that is, is a video game, is what we call video game. In the video game, what is the most important? The role or the environment?
Okay. Is there any other question from panel members?
Yeah.
Sir, please.
May I?
Yes, sir, please ask.
Paula, you have a question from Moscow. Elena asks me whether you have any plans to make online workshops on the city of emotions. Maybe you can tell us. You can also probably tell her yourself a little later, whenever you can.
No, sorry, I didn't hear you. The first, Helena, ask. Sorry.
Wants to know whether you have any plans to conduct online workshops on the city of emotions.
On this. This is a problem with online and emotions.
I know. All of us are stuck in the old domain of face-to-face interactions.
Yes. I didn't think to run such kind of things, but it's possible to do. It's possible to do. Because with the features, it depends on the target that you have, but it's possible to do. And okay.
I will tell her recording.
I see now some questions. Inspiration from virtual reality or gaming or simulation gaming. Yes. I hope that they find more inspiration in gaming simulation than virtual reality, because virtual reality, in my opinion, is still one individual, two individual, let's say, even if we have such, but we are, I don't know, in my opinion, is two individuals. So I hope gaming simulation would be more.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. From your experience, who plays a better game? One who is having high IQ or one who is having high EQ?
In the better performer, you mean, the better player?
Yeah. Yeah.
To play is a natural activity, is a human activity, is embedded in human nature. You can be surprised from unexpected, from the people that you think have the IQ of the world, or they have the high knowledge. Sometimes when you play gaming simulation and you are playing with the real model, it's like the first question about God. I'm an expert. I'm the expert that will, give this and then do this and perform better. And happen that it doesn't, because the less experience, let's call it the less experience, have some hints that you do not have. I can tell you a really brief story about it. I have a master in business administration, and we play different gaming simulation. And it was 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. One of them was in a square. It was a big award along all the business schools. And I was in the team with really expert, financial, logistic, everything. And there was a moment to decide if we want to follow some approach or some strategy or not. In a word, I was the only way where I have to say room where I can say something, and I say my opinion. They accepted, we won. Despite all the other teams were rather more expert than us. So, even a stupid participant in business like me can have, a good strategy.
As you rightly said, in business administration, we use a lot of cases. I happen to be a student of business administration. So once we divided, while using a case study, divided the students into 4 categories. One of those who had high intelligence quotient and low emotional quotient. Another category of those who had higher emotional quotient and lower IQ. And third category of those who had lower IQ as well as EQ in comparison to others. And the fourth one, which had both high, IQ high, EQ high. And later on we found that their case was discussed very well by those who had high IQ as well as high EQ. Does something like this happen in the case of this gaming also?
Yes, it is. It is. And especially in my field of urban gaming simulation, where we have to take in account all the voices, all the perspectives, all the abilities, and try to make it a sort of merging together in order to have the better result. Because inclusiveness is important in my field, as in business field, of course, but it must be told. I think.
Thank you very much. I think it was a great session, great learning, and I'm sure that everybody must have been benefited. There are around 500 participants who have heard you.
Wow. Biggest audience.
And I'm sure that you will schedule your program for attending in person ISAGA 2021 in India.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure,
Thank you.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah. Over to Rupali.
I'm sorry to say there are some months where if I have other webinars, I have not. I really do. I do a lot in person, so I'm sorry for that.
Please reserve the dates. First week of September.
We will create something.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, over to Rupali.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really a wonderful session for all of us. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form at the end. Now I request founder of Mantis, Dr. Vinod Damlekar, to propose words of thanks.
Thank you, Rupali. Paula, wonderful
Yes.
presentation. More than the presentation, I've played in 3 of your games. As old as 15, 16 years back, probably at Dortmund, Austria, as well as most recently in Bangkok, Thailand, where we played Natura.
Yes.
15, 16 years back, it was the same Venice game. We also had one, I think, where Ren Scottman was the mayor, and Jagoda was my partner in some 8 or 10 teams we were playing. I know we played it as a rehearsal, but it was fun. Your presentation was covered a wide range of topics, and from the listeners here and the questions, I realized that you have gone pretty deep. Thank you very much for coming and speaking to us, so to speak. As Dr. Dhar has said, we are very keen to see you here physically on Indian soil in September next year. So please accept my thanks on behalf of everybody here for having come here today. I would also like to thank the university authorities, in particular, Dr. Upinder Dhar, for having taken the initiative to plan this series of webinars so that in India, we get to listen to experts like Paula and bigger experts like Tyagi, for instance. I hope that we get to understand the power of simulation gaming in learning. This series would not have happened without back-end performers like Rupali, Dr. Rajawat, and today Dr. Dubey is missing. They have handled this back to make the technological process possible. Thank you for everybody, and especially those 400. I think I counted some 479 participants at the beginning of this session. I'm sure there must be many more on YouTube as well. Elena tried to connect. I think her connection did not go through. I hear that I was connecting with Elizabeth. She said she was also not going to, possibly she couldn't connect. So there must be many more who would have connected, but probably were not. This would be saved again as a YouTube file. So maybe that also would be a good thing for people who could not visit. To all of you, I'm very, very grateful that we made this happen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the participants, panel members, and our wonderful speaker of the session. Thank you, everyone. We will meet again in the 7th webinar.